It's time for Nerdgasm.
Hey, what's up guys? Jerry here, aka Barnacles, and welcome to the very first episode of Hashtag Tech Tip. Now, in this video series, I'm going to take one of my hashtag tech tips that I post to Twitter on my feed and basically drill down on it and elaborate it in this video to show you guys exactly what I did to carry out that tip, because we all know 140 characters on Twitter doesn't always give enough information. Now, I would say that's true for this topic in spades, because we're talking about the famed Microsoft Windows 10 privacy leaks. Now, when I say leaks, that's kind of a strong word that I'm using myself, because a lot of people feel that it's necessary to give their data to Microsoft to make technology better. And I don't disagree on some fronts, but me personally, I like my privacy, and I don't like the way that Microsoft has hidden a lot of these options and defaulted a lot of these options to take them out of your control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys all the information you need to disable all of the privacy leaks in Windows 10, and you guys can decide which ones you want to use and which ones you don't. And if you guys like the video, I'd love it if you'd hit that like button. If you dislike the video, hit that dislike button, and definitely let me know down in the comments what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. All right, so here we're sitting at the Get Going Fast screen. This is right after you put in the Windows 10 CD, you say you want to install, you select a drive, you put in your product key. This is the very next screen that you run into. And this one says Get Going Fast. And it basically has a huge button down here that says Use Express Settings. And then in the tiniest font possible down here in the corner, you can probably just barely see my mouse over it, you have Learn More and Customize Settings. So I blew by this so many times without even realizing it's here. You definitely don't want to click Use Express Settings, because Express Settings says, Microsoft, please open my window, stick your head in, and look directly at me while I take a shower. So we're going to go click on Customize Settings. Now you'll notice when Customize Settings comes up, everything is on by default. Now a lot of you guys might not think that's a big deal, but let me read some of these things to you, okay? So personalization. Personalize your speech, typing, and inking input by sending contacts. They're sending your contact information and calendar details along with other associated input data, meaning a keyboard logger, so anything you type on the keyboard, to Microsoft. Do you think that that's okay? Now, granted, if you want to use Cortana as a search and be like, hey, Cortana, will you find me my schedule next week at 10 a.m., blah, 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 then you have to have that enabled, because Cortana is tied to the cloud. And that's by design, because let's be honest, Microsoft is a business. They're moving away from operating system development more into cloud services and advertisement, because that's where the money is, which means you now are the product, and they need your personal information so that they can basically sell that to marketing companies or use it to put targeted advertisements on your screen that you're more than likely to engage on. I'm not saying any of this is a bad thing, guys. I'm really not, because a lot of people will attack me and say, oh, this is just part of business. Everybody knows this. Not everybody knows this. If you know it and you're okay with it, by all means, leave them on. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and disable that one. And look, send typing and inking data to Microsoft to improve the recognition and suggestion platform. No. Let apps use your advertiser ID for experiences across apps. No. I'm not going to let them use an advertising ID, because what they do is they allow you to associate that ID with your computer. Now, what this means is Microsoft does not know exactly what your computer is. But what they will know is all of the keystrokes and data coming in, which some of that might be you typing in your name or your address, which they can then use to identify you. And then that app ID will allow them to relate that to every other piece of data your computer has ever sent to them. Not a good thing. Okay, the location services. Now, if you use some applications, if you're on a laptop or something and you want location-aware services, you do have to enable this. But just remember, if you enable this, you're allowing Microsoft to basically track your movements, and they're storing that in a database, and then they can go ahead and use that data for whatever purpose they are, marketing and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and click Next. Yes, there's another page. All right. Browser and protection. Okay. Use Smart Screen online services to help protect against malicious content and download sites loaded by Windows browser and store apps. I don't consider this one a really bad setting, but it does basically allow Microsoft to see every single site that you're going to. They know where you're going and where you've been, because that's how they're able to tell you if it's bad or not. Again, nope, don't want Microsoft knowing where I've been. All right, the next option we have is use page prediction to improve reading, speed up browsing, and make your overall experience better in the Windows browser. Your browsing data will be sent to Microsoft. No. Notice how every single one of these options seems to emphasize on your data will be sent to Microsoft. Now, let's say you're okay with Microsoft having all your data. You don't care. All right, let's say you don't care. You're still using bandwidth. So if you have an internet connection that's capped on bandwidth and you have every one of these checked, your machine is sending a fair amount of information constantly to Microsoft, and that's eating up bandwidth. So I'm going to just say, even on that level alone, no, disabled. Now keep in mind, these are the default settings. So if you blew through the Windows 10 install or you bought a computer with Windows 10 already installed on it, chances are these are all turned on. But I'm going to show you how to disable them all later post-install. So we're going to start right now showing you how to disable them during install. And then once we have it installed, I'm going to show you how to do it through the use of a program. And I'm also going to show you some other cool little things that you guys can do. So stay tuned to this video. Come on, I know the ADHD is telling you to go watch cat videos and stuff, but just stick with me on this one. All right, connectivity and error reporting. Automatically connect to suggested open hotspots. No. Automatically connect to networks shared by your contacts. No. Send error and diagnostic information to Microsoft. Now this one's tricky because realize if you turn that off and you have apps that are crashing, you're not going to give Microsoft what they need to actually fix the issue. But on the flip side, if you leave that on, that means that if you're running any kind of software, it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's your own code that you're running, you're allowing dumps to be taken of those processes, which is basically like information that can be used to somewhat reverse engineer something, and send it to Microsoft. So me personally, as a software developer, no, sorry Microsoft, you cannot have my data. All right, so now it's saying just a moment. We went ahead and enacted those settings, so now we have to let Windows finish configuring itself. Also, for those of you interested, I am using VMware Workstation 12 Pro. I prefer VMware over Hyper-V just because it's a lot more configurable. It's a lot more forgiving. Seems to run a lot more operating systems. But if you do run Windows 10, notice you do have Hyper-V installed, so you can actually run virtual machines native right out of Windows. But I still prefer to use VMware. And if you do use VMware, make sure you disable Hyper-V is the feature in Windows. Otherwise, VMware will not work. All right, so now we're on to the next phase of setup. And I'm going to show you guys something that I think is really, really skeezy here. They're like, oh, Microsoft account opens a world of benefits. Sign in for your personalized experience. So Microsoft, of course, wants you to log in using a Windows Live account because what this allows them to do is tie together all of your computers, all your devices, your phone, your Xbox, and everything, and see everything that you're using. Now, generally on a desktop computer, I do not like to use this service. I like to just have a local account that's not tied to anything that's not susceptible to hacking. So if you come down here and you say no account, create one, or you can do skip this step. See this tiny little text down here that says skip this step? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Skip the step. All right, so now we're ready to create a local account on the system. Now, what I wish Microsoft would have done is better worded that previous screen and said, do you want to create a local account or do you want to use a live account? The fact that they actually say, oh, you got to enter your live account, and then the next biggest thing to click is don't have an account, create one. And then in tiny little text below, it says skip this step. It doesn't imply you're going to be able to create a local account. It just says skip this step. So let's go ahead and name this PC. I'm going to call this VMware Saurus Rex. There we go. Good enough. Password. Just going to make it password. Password. The password hint is pass space word. That's how I defeat their little system. Next. I love how each new generation of Windows seems to dumb things down more and more and more, from the air screens to the dialogues. Like, you get a lot more dialogues now that just say something bad happened or try again and stuff like that. And I remember, like, back in the Windows 95 days, it'd be like, oh, invalid file pointer handle 0x000CFFF. You know, it's like, it's definitely changed. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because a lot of people that use Windows need a more user-friendly experience. And to be quite honest with you, I like Windows 10 as a whole. The DPI scaling is completely broken in it. So as long as you disable DPI scaling and you disable all this privacy crap, it actually seems to be a faster and more fluid experience than I had with Windows 8.1, especially on my dual processor Xeon machine with 24 logical cores. Also, this part's bullshit. This won't take long. This always takes a very long time. All right, do I want to get on the network? Of course I do. Now that I know all my privacy settings are disabled, and that's the funny thing, is not all the privacy stuff is disabled right now. Only the stuff that they allowed me to see. Now, originally when I planned on doing this video for you guys, I was going to show you the steps of opening up the registry and going through and disabling all of the privacy stuff. But luckily for me, somebody already did that work for me. There's a program by Spybot. You know those guys, Spybot Search and Destroy is their main product. They're a reputable company. They're known for removing spyware and malware from systems. Well, they created a program called Beacon, and we're going to go download that right now. All right, guys, so I'm using the Microsoft Edge browser because I haven't had a chance to install Chrome yet on this VM. And you can see that I went to safer-networking.org/spybot-anti-beacon. And I will have this link down in the video description along with links to everything else that I'm doing. All right, let's go ahead and download this program. Right down here, we're going to download the installer. And another cool thing is they have a portable edition. Now, for you guys that don't know what a portable edition is, it means that it's a standalone executable that doesn't require an installation. Because when you install something using Install Shield or one of the other installer programs, it gets pretty much deeply tied into your system through registry entries and things like that. If you don't understand anything I just said, don't worry about it. But the portable version is nice if you just want to put it on a thumb drive to use it on multiple computers. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to download that one. All right, as you can see, the program is completed downloading, but I do want to talk to you about something really quick before we go any further. There are a ton of applications out there that claim to remove the Microsoft privacy off of your system. Now, a lot of these programs do work, but I found that quite a few of them contain spyware and malware themselves. The worst offender I found was Do Not Spy 10. Yeah, Do Not Spy 10 is the name of the program. You definitely do not want to touch that one. It actually installs something called Open Candy on your system, which is an advertisement platform that injects advertisements into your other programs. And it's just skeevy as hell, and it pisses me off because, yes, it's freeware. Cool, you're doing people a solid, but how are you doing them a solid by allowing them to remove the Microsoft privacy only to invade their privacy with another program? I think that's bullshit. I found that the Spybot Beacon was a clean program. It didn't seem to do anything malicious to the system, although there are some caveats that I'm going to show you that may impede what you're trying to do, and we'll cover each one of those. But just, guys, if you used any other program other than Beacon, please let me know what your experience was down in the comments, and make sure that you run some kind of spyware and malware scanner after using those programs, because I found quite a few that were pretty skeevy. All right, now when you open the program, you're going to notice it's going to pop up with this user account control dialog. Go ahead and click yes. The reason being is it has to run as an administrator because the settings on the system are so low level that it basically can only block those settings if you allow it to as an administrator. Otherwise, the program can't do what it's supposed to. Now, if you look at these, you can click on the optional. You can see so far the remote registry service has been blocked. I believe that has to do with some of the settings that we did during setup. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can see that there's no blocks in place yet. This is all the stuff that hasn't been blocked yet. This is the most important one, though, that I want to draw attention to right here. This is the P2B Windows Update Outside Local Network. This peer-to-peer thing down here is enabled by default on Windows, and basically when other people out on the internet are downloading updates from Windows Update, they could be downloading parts of them from your computer. So your computer is pumping out bandwidth, supplying all this stuff to everybody without you even knowing it. So we definitely want that one disabled. The app's using advertised ID says it's not blocked. So here, we're going to actually check that, because you saw that during setup, I did explicitly disable all of that crap. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Windows key to open up the menu, and I'm going to just type privacy. All right, I'm going to open up, actually, I don't want webcam. Okay, this is fine. So I opened up the webcam privacy settings, but here's the privacy in general. So if I click this, you can see list website. Okay, so let websites provide locally relevant content by accessing my language list. That wasn't something I had an option to disable during setup, so I'm going to go ahead and disable that. And again, guys, you might want to even just come in here and just disable all this stuff before doing anything, just so that you're doing layers on top of layers on top of layers to be diligent about it. So I'm going to go in here. Okay, everything's disabled there. Camera, let apps use my camera. I'm going to go ahead and disable that because I don't use any of the modern applications that use the camera. I just use things like desktop apps like Skype and stuff like that, where this does not apply. Okay, the microphone, I'm going to go ahead and disable that because I don't want the background applications that Microsoft's running to be able to listen to my microphone. The inking stuff, you have the Get to Know Me. I have that disabled right now. I do not want it to get to know me. Account info, let apps access my name, picture, and other information. I'm going to say no. You can leave them however you want, but I like my operating system to be completely cut off from my personal information. So choose apps that can access my contacts. So Mail and Calendar and Windows Shell Experience. I'm just going to go ahead and disable those because I don't need any program to access my contacts without me explicitly giving permission. I'm going to disable my calendar. Or I should say not disable the calendar, but disable access to the Mail and Calendar application. Because again, I don't use any of these modern applications. If you do, don't disable it. Let apps read and send messages, text, or SMS. Absolutely not. I do not want the apps to have access to SMS data. Radios, I'm going to go ahead and disable that. I don't want apps to control any radio stuff on my system. Again, at least they let you disable this stuff, but you have to come in here. Sync with other devices. Nope. I just want this all turned off. Now we go under feedback and diagnostics. Now, it says feedback frequency. Windows should ask for my feedback automatically. Now, when they say ask for your feedback, I don't know exactly what this means, but I think it means that Microsoft can actually take diagnostic data from your computer. So they're asking your computer for data. They're not popping up a dialog and saying, hey, do you want to share this with Microsoft? So I'm going to say never. I do not want that shared. And then send your device data to Microsoft. I'm going to set to basic. They don't even give you an option to disable it, but I'm going to show you guys how to actually disable it later if you don't want any of the diagnostic and usage data sent to Microsoft. And then, of course, background applications. I'm going to disable all of these because what this is saying is allow these applications to run in the background. And these are those Windows Modern applications, which, again, I am not a fan of modern applications. I don't like them. If you do, keep them enabled. All right, guys, I just noticed a little bug on Spybot's webpage. The version that I downloaded was actually an old version of Beacon. It was missing a couple options that I wanted to show you guys. So I'm going to show you how to get around the issue. If you're on Spybot Anti-Beacon's page and you go down and you say click on Download Portable Edition, you'll notice that it takes you to version 1.4.0.26, which actually, as it turns out, is not the latest version. 1.5 is, which has a lot more options. So what you need to do is go back and click on Spybot Search and Destroy Forum right here. Now you're going to notice down here under portable, it says version 1.5.0.35, which is the latest, but it says size 0 bytes, and it takes you to the old version. So guys, make sure that you go back and you select the installer version. Let's go ahead and do that. Or you can do the standalone exe2, but I'm going to go ahead and just do the installer. And click here to download it. You want to make sure that you have 1.5 or better. Otherwise, you're going to be wondering why you're missing options. Now, when you're installing the latest version of Spybot, there's a new option that I didn't see before because I used the portable version. Now I'm using the installed version. There's actually a refresh immunization after each system restart. This is a great feature because one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video was that when Windows pushes Windows updates down to your machine, they do reset some of these privacy settings without letting you know. And I think it's honestly a bug. I don't know if Microsoft's doing it on purpose or not, but they're probably just not doing their due diligence about leaving the system in the state that it was. And because they re-enable them, after you install the Windows update and you reboot the machine, now, of course, you're susceptible again and you don't even know it. And since Windows 10 installs updates without even notifying you half the time, it's really hard to know that your system is immunized and your privacy is in place. So I'm going to go ahead and check this option right here, refresh immunization on each restart. And this is basically going to run the program on each restart and go back and recheck and change all of those registry keys. Okay, let's go ahead and launch it. Here we go. Okay, so now here is 1.5. This is the version that you want to have, 1.5 or better, and always check them for updates because Microsoft may add different types of telemetry in the future and may install new services on your box to harvest information in different ways. And so hopefully Spybot keeps up with these and keeps adding them to the program. And if I learn about them, I'll go ahead and put them down in the video description. So if you guys know of anything that this doesn't cover, or what I talk about in this video doesn't cover, please leave a comment down below and tell me about it, and I'll go ahead and try to put it in a Q&A section in this video. All right, so now if we go over to the optional settings, you see there are a lot more things now. This program has been updated a ton. It even includes Office 16 and Office 15 privacy issues. But the one thing that I want to tell you guys about is I personally use Bing. A lot of people say, oh, Bing sucks, use Google. I love Bing because Bing image search is like second to none when I'm searching for like transparent PNGs and stuff like that for doing my graphic overlays and things like that. So I leave it disabled, but just make sure that if you immunize all, like if I come over here and say just immunize the whole system, it's going to go through and modify all the registry keys and do everything. It runs really, really fast. And I flip over the page. Oh, actually, they fixed it in this version. Notice they did not add the Bing IPs. That's good. Okay, so but if you don't use Bing, let's say you don't care, Bing sucks, whatever, click apply here. And what this will do is this will actually put some things into your host file and stuff like that that will prevent your computer from talking to Bing at all, which means Bing will be incapable of collecting cookies and things like that. And you won't accidentally stumble into Bing and give Microsoft some information like the metadata from your browser and stuff like that. But I personally use Bing, so I'm going to undo it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the telemetry host list. I'm going to show you what that does. So I just applied that setting. So now if I open up a command window, so I'm just going to open CMD, and I'm going to hold down Control and Shift and press Enter. This is a little shortcut that I learned that will actually get you to an administrator prompt. You can see we're administrator right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the subdirectory Windows System 32 drivers etc. Now inside of this folder is a file called hosts. Now you can see down here, it says start of entries added by Spybot Anti-Beacon. You can see, look at this huge list here of stuff that was added. These are all the different sites that Microsoft uses to collect information via Skype, via their applications and everything like that. And it's a pretty large list. And what this does is this basically tells your computer that anytime an application tries to access any of these things by domain name, like this, they're going to get redirected to an IP address that's non-existent, 0.0.0.0, which basically means go nowhere. It just stops it dead in its tracks. And another cool little tip, you guys, is if you ever want to, you can just add other stuff in here. Like if you want to mess with your friends, send Google to like 127.0.0.1. Or actually here, we'll do Bing. And 127.0.0.1 bing.com. If you do that and save the file, what it's going to do is anytime they try to go to www.bing.com or bing.com, it's just going to get a 404 error. Or if you have a web server set up on the system, you could even put up a web page that's like, haha, lols. Or if you get the IP address to another service, like for instance, here, let's get Google. So I'm going to ping Google. Come on, ping Google. There it is. Okay. So now I got Google's IP address right here. So I'm going to take Google's IP address, and I know this is a little off the beaten path, but I want you guys to understand how this host file works. I'm going to go ahead and add that and say bing.com. Now, if I save that file, let's open up the web browser. Now, what's going to happen if I try to open a new tab and go to Bing? Let's try to go to Bing. Bing.com. That somehow worked, and that should not have. Ooh, interesting. Even though I have a block explicitly to Bing going to Google, it still goes around it. Let's see if it works for everything else. Let's try redirecting... let's do foo.com. 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 Haha, see? Foo went to Google. That is some bullshit, Microsoft. You guys see that? So here's the skinny. If I put Bing in the host file to redirect it to different IP address, the Microsoft Edge browser ignores it and goes directly to Bing anyways by IP address. If this had been the Chrome browser, it would have gone to Google when I typed in bing.com. So that's a little skeevy that the Edge browser just drives right around the host file. That's garbage. That's poopy, dude. I don't like that at all. Guys, I actually learn a lot making videos like this. I really do. All right, so now we go back to SpyBot here. Let's see, web search group policy. I'm going to go ahead and disable that. Cortana group policy. I'm going to disable that too because we don't want Cortana enabled at all on the system. Because remember, the way Cortana works is you say a couple things just like Siri on the iPhone. It takes all of those things you said, pushes them up to Microsoft, tries to figure out the best answer, and then pushes it back down to you. That includes when you're looking for local files. That's the part I don't like about this. Is that even if you're doing local searches like find all pictures from January, it doesn't just go up to Microsoft and figure out how to translate to find pictures to January. It goes up to Microsoft, sends them details about your file system, and makes the determination on the server side for a lot of these things. And that I don't like. So I'm going to go ahead and disable that. The OneDrive group policy, I'm going to go ahead and leave that enabled because I actually do use OneDrive. So I'm not going to immunize against OneDrive. Let's see if there's anything else. Office 15, Office 16, I'm going to go ahead and just apply all of those blocks. I don't use them, but if I install them later, I kind of want that in place when the system reboots. And then under the log, there's just some information in the program that tells you if it was successful or unsuccessful on certain things. And then there's also some frequently asked questions if you guys want to know more about the program itself. But in order for you to go do all of these things manually through the UI, through the registry, and everything would take a crap load of time. So huge thanks to SpyBot for creating Anti-Beacon, and a huge FU to every one of the other companies that created one of these damn things and bundled it with spyware. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to show you guys in this video is how to forcibly disable the services that are responsible for sending diagnostics and telemetry to Microsoft. Now, I want to preface this with a warning. You do this at your own risk. We're going to be modifying system services that install with Microsoft Windows. This is not a supported scenario from Microsoft at all, and you could find that later down the road that this actually does some kind of irreparable damage. Now, me, myself, I did this about 3 weeks ago, and I've been doing everything with Adobe Premiere, my editing, playing games and everything, and I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we're definitely on this next part venturing outside of the comfort zone of just using a simple program that modifies a couple settings. All right, you guys ready? Okay, go ahead and open up a command window. So CMD, and we need to open it as elevated. So hold down that Control and Shift and press Enter, or you can also just right click on it and say Run as Administrator. So if you're a mouser or a keyboard guy, hey, take your pick. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now I have my command prompt here, and I'm going to go ahead and just full screen that. Another thing I really like about Windows 10 is that you can full screen a command prompt. You know how long it's been since you've been able to do that? You can also resize the command prompt dynamically like this. So absolutely love that. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's worth upgrading from Windows 8 to 10 for, but between that and the new start menu, I'm actually pretty impressed and like it. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and just get back to a clean prompt. You don't have to do that. I just need more room to type. So what we need to do is disable the diag track service. So we're going to type SC, which is service controller, stop diag track. Okay, it says the service has not been started, so that's good. The service is already off, probably because it was disabled by me running the Spybot anti-beacon program. So now we're going to delete it. We're actually going to remove Diag from the system. Now, what that did is that completely deleted the service, which means if Microsoft does try to re-enable that service at some point down the road, it's just going to error out unless it reinstalls that service. And the good news is because that's a stock service that installs with Windows, the odds of them replacing that service are actually really low. All right, guys, I had to actually look this one up because it's a little bit confusing. Notice over here in the Service Control Manager, it says DMW APP USH SVC. If you double click it, the service name is different. The service name is actually DMW APP USH Service. So that's a little bit confusing on that one. So we're going to SC stop. I'm going to go ahead and just paste that so I don't screw it up. Okay, the service has not been started. Again, it was probably disabled through the anti-Spybot, but we're going to go ahead and delete it so that it's no longer on the system. So I'm going to paste it. Delete successful. Okay, so right there it just said, hey, it's unable to query it because it's gone. So now if I open this up, hit F5, you notice it's no longer in the list. So now I've purged that from the system, guys. Now if I type SC query from the command line and look through all of the services, you will notice that it is gone. Now again, guys, I just want to stress caution if you're doing that. Disabling the service is probably more than sufficient combined with anti-Spybot. But since I never want to enable those features and I don't want them around anyways, I just deleted them out of my my version of Windows 10. But just realize that later on down the road, just like anything else, they may actually be reintroduced through an update from Microsoft, because if enough people start disabling this telemetry that Microsoft is banking on to pay and bankroll Windows 10 and all of the updates for it moving forward, they may actually start forcibly trying to re-enable this stuff and hide it even deeper. All right, guys, so the last thing that I want to cover in this video for you guys is Windows Update. So let's go ahead and open up Windows Update. You just click the start button, type in Windows Update, hit enter, you're there. I really like search, it's my preferred method, but now you notice when I opened up Windows Update, it's already downloading stuff. It's downloading definitions for Defender, it's upgrading Windows 10 Home Edition to version 1.1511. Now this is the most important one right here, and the reason why I tell you that is after that update finishes installing, it will disable certain privacy settings, or rather revert them back to where information is going to Microsoft that you previously had disabled. Now, I find this completely unacceptable from Microsoft because they give me no warning. This update just gets installed automatically on your system, often without your permission. It'll just happen overnight while you're sitting there because Windows 10, you basically agree to just let your system install updates at Microsoft's leisure, unless you put some blocks in place for that. But this 1511 update, after installing it, I noticed not all, but a lot of the privacy settings were reverted. So again, this is another reason why you want to make sure that you run that the anti-beacon every single time you reboot your machine, because if Windows update occurs or something like that, you're probably going to see some changes to your privacy settings without your knowledge. Now, I love that they had the feature in anti-Spybot to basically run it every single time and re-immunize the system. That is a great feature. Absolutely love it. So we can see there's also a security update going in for Internet Explorer. Now, this auto update thing I absolutely can't stand. So let me go into advanced options here. You can actually change it to notify to schedule restart. This just means that it's going to let you choose when to reboot the computer instead of it rebooting the computer for you. There used to be an option back in Windows 8 and Windows 7 where you could just say, let me decide when to install updates. That option no longer exists. Microsoft installs the updates no matter what. You just get to decide when the system reboots to implement them. Now, there is an option down here that says defer upgrades, but the problem is when you click learn more to figure out what that exactly means, it just basically takes you to a default Microsoft Tech Center website and there's no answer on the screen. Like, why aren't they linking specifically to that question? Like, what does this feature mean? I thought that was a little weird. It's very, very confusing. But again, defer updates implies that you're basically saying don't do it now, do it later. But there still is no indication here that it's like, I want to stop updates from occurring until I say to do it. And also I've noticed around Windows, even when you install a local account and you're not tied to Windows Live at all, you get this like orange text everywhere. It says some settings are managed by your organization. My organization? That's like, what, is Microsoft my organization? Because I have no organization. There should be no group policy applied to the system at this point, like if I was connected to domain controller. So I don't really know what that means. But At any rate, guys, these updates are going to install, so you're going to want to be ready for them. So here, it looks like we're on the last update now, the cumulative update for Windows 10 for x64-based systems. You can click details, but usually there's not a lot of data in there. But here, I'm going to let this finish installing because it will take a while because it's a huge update to Windows 10. And once it's done, we're going to go recheck our privacy settings. Also, while this last update's installing, I just want to take a moment to say thank you guys for all of your support. When you guys give me a like or even give me a dislike or subscribe to my channel, you're actually helping me make forward progress, and I appreciate it. And if you guys would like to take it a step further and help to actually support me financially in this endeavor, head on over to shop.barnnerd.com and pick up one of my awesome logoed mugs or t-shirts. You can buy them for friends and family. They probably have no idea who the hell I am, but that'll make it even that much more funnier when you hand it to them and they're like, what? Also, if this is the first video that you've watched that I've produced, I urge you to watch my other videos. I have a very diverse channel. I do a lot of stuff with 3D printing, do a lot of stuff with gaming. I am literally ADHD as they come in all over the place in the tech world. So I'm sure if you didn't like this video, I have something else you will like. And I'm sure if you like this video, I probably have a lot of other stuff you're not going to like. But at any rate, flip through it and let me know what you think. Also, if you guys want to ask me a question, I'm at Barnacles over on Twitter. So come on over and tweet me your questions, and I will try to respond to you. I'm also active on Instagram and Facebook, but Twitter is pretty much my go-to network because it allows me to stay in touch with as many of you guys as humanly possible without all the clutter. And also, I have links to all my social networks and everything down in the video description. So if you guys have a question, be sure and check the video description before asking, because I answer a lot of questions in there in the Q&A block. I have links to everything that I've talked about in the video. I have links to my social networks so you can come and troll me, support me, and all that stuff. So it looks like we're getting pretty close. We're at 73% on the November Windows 10 upgrade to version 1.5.1.1. All right, guys, so all we've done is installed the 15.11 updates and all the other Windows updates before it. So let's go ahead and check the privacy settings now. All right, I'm not sure, but I think that might actually be a new setting. I'm going to go ahead and just disable that one. That's a smart screen filter. Okay, location. Looks like everything's still disabled. Camera, disabled, microphone, disabled, speech and inking, okay. Off. See contacts, okay. So far this is looking good. I wasn't so lucky when I installed the update a while ago, so I think they may have fixed it. Okay, that's still off. Ooh, let apps access my call history. Now, I don't believe this was an option before the update, so this may have been a feature that was added. But even so, it was added with a default of on without letting me know. Okay, let's go to email. Oh, let apps access and send email. No. See, that was on. Now, again, I'd have to go back and check because, guys, I'm doing this in real time. But you guys saw that I disabled anything having to do with access to email. So that was on by default. Let's see, messaging. Luckily, is still off. Radios is still off. Other devices, still off. Feedback and diagnostics is set to. Windows should ask for my feedback never, and it's still basic. It's actually grayed out this time. That might be because of the Spybot thing. And then background applications. Let these applications run in the background. You guys remember, I disabled every single one of these. Now, these aren't necessarily, privacy concerns foremost, but just the fact that Windows is changing my default settings just pisses me off. So we can see that there was just a couple, but now to let you know, when I first installed the 15.11 update, and it looked like there was multiple builds of it that were released, I had more settings enabled on my main box than I do on this VM. So I don't know if things have changed, or maybe it had something more to do with how I initially set them up. But still, the fact that some of the defaults are being changed is actually pretty deplorable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up Spybot again. Oh, well, would you looky here. So after installing the update, now you guys remember, we were 100% protected. Then I installed the Windows update, including the 15.11 update. Now you can see the Consumer Experience Improvement Program scheduled tasks are not blocked. You can see the app using my advertised ID got reverted. That's not blocked. And now one of the blocks for the P2P Windows Update outside local network sharing is no longer blocked, which remember, we had that 100% blocked before. Now under optional, remember I left OneDrive alone, that's fine. The Bing IPs are unblocked, that's fine. So everything under here looks good, but still guys, look, we dropped down to 46 out of 53 after installing those updates. Now Microsoft, when they install those updates, should not be changing the default settings and should not be changing what you modified. If you modified a setting, they should be respecting that and not redeploying the default setting, especially without letting you know. So Again, you know, hey, this might just be me in my tinfoil hat, but I'm just letting you guys know all of the things that I've observed. I personally prefer to have privacy on my desktop computer. A lot of people compare this to the desktop experience. I'm going to go ahead and immunize. There we go. We're all good again. A lot of people compare like, oh, well, Google does the same thing and your phone does the same thing. I consider my desktop computer to be a different experience than my mobile devices. My mobile devices, I almost expect them to be heavily internet connected and heavily in data sharing, and I have that mentality in my mind when I use them. The desktop computer is more of my safe haven. It's my place where I do everything. It's where I do my development. It's where I keep my intellectual property. And so I value privacy a lot more on my desktop computer than anywhere else. I'd love to hear what your guys' opinion on that is down in the comments. Definitely let me know. I hope that you guys found this new series, hashtag Tech Tip, useful. If you want me to make more, please vote with your keyboard. Let me know down in the comments what topics you guys would like to see me cover. Also, go search for hashtag Tech Tip and at Barnacules over on Twitter, and you'll see all of the past tech tips that I've listed, including hotkeys and shortcuts and little commands that you can run and everything to make your life easier and to optimize your computer. And if you guys really enjoy this series, I will make this a much more regular thing for you. All right, guys, thank you again for watching, and until next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also, come over to Twitter. I'm at Barnacules. I'm a real social guy. Also, if you have a couple of minutes, check out some of these many other videos. I made them myself.